Hello, ambassadors. Welcome to our second ambassador webinar training series. So for this week's topic, we are focusing on generating quality leads. But before we get started, let me recap what we just talked about last week in our very first webinar. What did we talk about last week? So in our very first one, we talked about how to create a successful sponsorship campaign. We also discussed 4 main motivational factors why sponsors come to us to invest their money into our program. Some of the factors include marketing and branding, community growth, and innovation as well. Last but not least, we also understand what AngelHack has to offer and our competitive advantage. As Sabine already, as the founder of AngelHack, shared with us last week. Moving on to today's webinar. So in today's webinar, we are going to learn about how can you build a list of potential sponsors who have a proven interest and of course, budget to invest in our program. So this is a natural progression as we learn about the big picture in last week's webinar about the sales process, what makes us different. So now we are going into the more tactical aspect of finding leads, right? And next, we also learn how to use the best email templates and script so that we can actually get responses from company we are reaching out to. And last but not least, if we have time today, I would love to offer the space for us to practice your sales speech. But for this part, we also dedicate time on the third webinar to just focusing on practicing, pitching, and you will receive feedback from our AngelHack team as well. So if today we cannot make it to the third part, we will have the next webinar focusing on practice pitching. So no worries. Great, so let's get started for this week's webinar. So the very common question that I receive from our ambassador is that, so where do we source potential sponsors? How can we find companies who are interested in investing their resources into our program? So from my experience finding sponsors, the most powerful tool I have found is number one, always go into your personal network first before doing any other cold outreach. Why personal network? I found personal network is the most powerful because people in my network already know me and they trust me. So when I share with them about what I am doing at AngelHack, our vision, our mission, and what we are doing for the community, it is just so much easier for them to buy into what we're doing because they already trust me. So similar to what you are doing right now, first, in order to source potential sponsor, I encourage you to look within your personal network. And one of the very good way to see is through your LinkedIn profile. See who are you connected with, which tech company do you have a friends work there, or a connection who is have another connection work in the company you hope to outreach for. And then ask for introduction. Hey, can I get to know your marketing manager at this company? This is what I'm doing. So in my experience, this has been the most powerful entry into getting the meeting with the company I am targeted to seek for sponsorship. Another way that is very useful for cold outreach as well is that we can go through Google. And so what do we search in the type box? There are multiple things we can search. Number one is that what are existing big tech company that you she is very involved in other community activities or hackathon or conferences. So we can look up the list of this sponsor of the past conferences, and this is a really good list to go from there. I am sure in the city you are hosting event, there must be sponsor who already invested in hackathon. So I think this could be a good way that we can reach out to them and see if they're also interested in another opportunity similar like that. Another way we can use sponsor, email Google, is through reading news and article about which company, for example, just recently raised fund and got invested, because this company are much more likely to looking for more tech talent. They want to increase their brand and marketing awareness. So we can tap into this network to ask for sponsorship. This could be very potential. I also would like to ask our regional manager, Jonas, to share with us more about his experience. So Jonas, where do you usually find and source potential sponsor?
Test, test, test. Can somebody confirm that you guys can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Perfect. Hey guys, I'm so sorry. I had just some massive China internet issues. For those who don't know me, I just say two sentences. My name is Jonas, originally from Germany, and been with AngelHack a good 1.5 years. Had the big honor to be part of 2 ambassador retreats, and judging from the attendee list here, luckily quite a few of you I have the honor who have also met and worked with some of you. So thanks again also from my side for joining. And Jess, I'll just continue where you left off and share a little bit more personal experiences. Jess just mentioned the 4 points listed here. And for myself, the strongest creator of interest in sponsorship and general sales for AngelHack activities, no matter if workshops, or hackathons. A great driver has been always the personal network. I'll talk a little bit more about that. The key inspiration for me to reach out to new people have been conferences or other hackathons. And Google and LinkedIn are for me the tools to look up the people and the contact information of conference speakers and for example, judges and sponsors at other hackathons. As you know, of course, Google organizing the information of the world and LinkedIn being more on the professional side are 2 excellent tools to help us get the relevant contacts. I'll elaborate a little bit more on that, why especially conferences and other hackathons are also great. Both, for example, judges or sponsors of other hackathons, they know already what hackathons are and what we are doing at the global series. And conferences is also a great point because it's usually higher up level managers of companies that are giving speeches there, keynotes, whatever you call it. And those people, most of them, they also enjoy the action of the conferences, which of course we have even more at hackathons. And personal network, for example, now we have the link between 3-4 points here. If I see somebody is a speaker at a conference or sponsor a hackathon, I'll see on LinkedIn if there are any like mutual connection that can refer me to them and maybe make a warm introduction. If you have a warm introduction from anybody in your network, it increases the chances of replies and selling success by a lot already. This is a great way to get to those people, of course, beyond those cold emails where we talk about later on. And a little bit more in depth about personal network. Personal network is going way beyond the people you think of as your closest friends or mentors, allies, whatever you call them. The personal network to me is also people that were at past hackathons from us. For example, I know several of the people who have been with AngelHack, for a very long time. For example, Christina, and of course, our founder Sabine. They have such vast networks from past hackathons. It can also be, of course, past participants, right? Or past mentors, past judges. And these days, people are really mobile. So people, move around a lot between different cities, between different countries. And it is amazing, actually, with how many people I talked to who actually said, oh, I know AngelHack from London, or I know AngelHack from Hyderabad, right? So really, really, really impressive how the personal network plus the greater AngelHack network actually correlate at some points. Jess, do you think we should go further in depth about personal networks, or are we good to move on? Also, let me see the comments in the chat here.
Right, I think we're great to move on. Just another note for our participants of today's webinar. If you have any questions at any time, please post it on the Q&A box. If our team sees appropriate to address immediately, we will do that. Otherwise, at the end of our webinar, we do dedicated time to answer your questions. So yes, go ahead, Jonas. I think we can move on to the next part.
Yeah, if we can move to the next slide, would be great. Perfect. And the next part is, again, it recaps on how do we find the right stakeholder, because again, also if you talk to somebody in your network, maybe you know some people who are successful startup founders, and they raise some venture capital, they built their team, and they're trying to scale, right, their technology, their people, their influence, whatever it is. We talked about it in the last call. Even the founder, it might not be the right person, but of course the founder of the company can direct you to the right person in his company. So we listed here a list of a couple people who have key roles that we work with, and I explain how we in particular can work with them and sell to them. But these are the people we can scout for also on especially LinkedIn, but also on Google. Clearly, obviously, starting with the C-suite level have the greatest connection. They can make it happen. They can make the decision. If we have the chance to talk to CEO of a great company, and he says, hey, I love this. We inspire the ecosystem. We empower young people. We give opportunities. Or, hey, we built amazing tech here for the company. Clearly the CEO just drops the message to the right person and things will happen, right? Kind of top-down approach. CMO, CTO, a little bit more specific. CTO more interested in innovation, tech development, or to evangelize their technologies, versus the CMO often is interested, of course, in promoting the product, chief marketing officer. However, the CMO is also sometimes interested, especially if we talk to some more of the legacy companies. I can give one example. We talked and worked with before successfully with a real estate, pretty legendary company, JLL. They've been around 150 years in the real estate market, and they want to also be recognized for their tech efforts and analytics efforts. So they said a hackathon is a great way to also bring attention and change the perception of them, because the general public thinks they're an old school traditional real estate company. But if they can show publicly, hey, we also have IT and analytics department, and we also run hackathons, well, of course, this changes public opinion, right? Next is developer relations, or how it's sometimes called, a developer evangelist. That's, for example, what AWS and a whole bunch of startups calls them. Developer evangelists or developer relations folks are fantastic because their job is to promote APIs or in generally spread the development of the tech firms' solutions and whatever they're offering, right? It can be anything from those huge legacy companies, IBM, AWS, that we work a lot with, of course, Microsoft, Oracle, and so on, SAP, you know them, but also some really cool, new, innovative blockchain solutions. There's more and more happening in AI, and also a lot of those companies, they're offering APIs and really open up their ecosystems. Another great example is Agora.io. They are doing a lot of things. One thing is video and real-time transferring of this video and so on data. And so a lot of successful AngelHack collaborations also happen with the developer relation department. Of course, tech recruiters. A lot of you guys are coders, work in the tech field, and so obviously you know all about it. They are interested in hiring you and a lot of our community members, making HR and recruiters also a fantastic target group. Again, on higher up levels, head of departments, strategy, going into innovation direction. And next point also amplifies this, the innovation lead. I know Jungmo, for example, our star ambassador from Seoul, worked with the ALG, one of their innovation units, which was also landed a successful sponsorship. And this goes beyond that, right? The list goes on. These days, so many companies have their innovation labs or corporate venturing groups, whatever it is. They all want ecosystem exposure. And lastly, we list here, but also hyper important, corporate social responsibility, or short CSR managers. As you know, the core of AngelHack has to do with empowerment of people, of ideas, technologies. And also AngelHack is very well known for all our work empowering women in technology and entrepreneurship. These are all really, really interesting points. And luckily also companies care about it. There are so many problems that companies and the world need to tackle, and AngelHack, our hackathons, can support these initiatives, right? And I always think it's great if we amplify our own passion. So let's say you are especially passionate about women in technology, well, go all out about it, right? For example, the other day when I looked for sponsors, I came across a list of the 100 most empowering female managers, right? Bam, this is your cause. This is the cause of AngelHack. And here's your list that you easily find online with 100 power women, right? So hit them up, and there you already have a common talking point. We always make our intro email short. I would make one line about them and then one line about what we do, and ask them for a call, right? But there will be more in the next chapter. If nobody has any immediate questions, let's continue due to the time and more questions in Q&A.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Jonas. So now that we already know who would be the person to contact, how do we actually write an email that will get responses from them? So I would like to introduce AngelHack Code Email Golden Rule. This is given by Sabine, our founder and CEO of AngelHack, who has years in sales and sponsorship. So she advises us in our code email, there should be no more than 3 paragraphs, no more than 3 sentences per paragraph, and anything else should be on the phone. The goal of us sending code email is to really get the company intrigued so that they would schedule a meeting with us to further explore partnership and collaborations. So that's why we should keep it really short and sweet. Another reason why this rule comes to life is if we look at where do people read emails, you can see that 32% of the people open their email on desktop. On the other hand, much more significant number, 68%, open on mobile devices, whether it's Android or iPad or iPhone. So because it is so common to read emails on mobile device, that's why we would like to keep it short and sweet to make it easy for them to read our emails so that we don't cause extra work and make it difficult for them to reply to us. Once again, our goal when sending this cold email is to get a meeting with a company to explore if it makes sense to actually work together. So that is our goal when we send out this email. So I have here a template that we usually use for our outreach that I would like to share with you today. So I will read it over to you and then we can break down the element. Hi, always insert the first name of the person you're reaching out to. And again, coming back to Jonas' point, it must be a decision maker. So the people in the list that we mentioned before, whether they're working in C-suite or developer relations or CSR manager or marketing manager. So we address the first name here. I wanted to reach out to ask you what your company's developer marketing goals are for this year and next. So in this introduction, we start to the point right away. Why are we reaching out? And this is very focusing on developer marketing goals. And it already shows the interest and the curiosity that we want to learn more and explore opportunity here. The next paragraph, AngelHack hosts hackathon all over the world and can create custom developer engagement to have achieved your developer marketing goals. So the second paragraph here, we introduce AngelHack in one sentence. So this is our pretty much one sentence pitch introducing what we do. We host hackathon all over the world. And not only hackathon, we can also create custom framework, right? Custom developer engagement to have them achieve whatever goals it is, whether it's marketing, branding, innovation, community growth. We can have them to create that, to make it happen. The last paragraph is always a call to action. Do you have time this week to connect? I would be happy to schedule a free consultation with our CEO. So once again, this last part, we start with the questions if they have time, and then an offer, a call to action. The next step is to schedule pretty much a call with Sabine to explore what is their goal and how can we help them, how can we work together. I also want to point out a few things in the formatting. As you can see, each paragraph, in between each paragraph, we have spacing. This is really important as we want to make it easy on the eyes. So always make sure between paragraph, you add spacing so it's easier to read. Second of all, as you can see in this very first cold email, we don't add any pictures, any photo, or any other complicated things to add with, as we want to keep it casual, friendly, but still professional. So we can keep the very first email, cold email, simple this way. So in my experience working with ambassadors, these are some very common cold email mistakes that I saw. Number one is that you give away too much information in this cold email, right? So you introduce too much what is AngelHack, what you are doing, what is your plan for this year, what's your details, planning about the hackathon. Again, this is the very first email, introduction email, and our goal is to get them intrigued and interested in learning more about what we're doing so that we can schedule a call and explore if it works to work together. we want to keep it short and sweet to increase our chance of them saying yes to our meeting. The second mistake I usually see a lot is that you include or add attachment on the very first email. So for example, it's a pitch deck or it's a sponsorship deck. Again, coming back to the first point, we want to just keep the email really short and sweet and interesting, make them curious in learning more. Not only that, we don't want to send the pitch deck right away because we want to customize the sales deck to fit their goals and their objective when they're working with us. So I would encourage you to send the attachment of the pitch deck after we already meet them on the very first meeting and exploring what is their goals, what their challenges, what are their pain points, and then we can customize a pitch deck to send and follow up to them afterward. That would be much more effective than just send a generic sales deck on the very first cold email. Another mistake to keep in mind is about punctuation. So please limit bold or italic or capital. Otherwise, you will just look like another spam email that landing on their email box. There are also a few success tips I would like to share. Number one, echoing what Jonas just said, intros are infinitely better than cold emails. Once again, I always encourage ambassador to go through the rounds of personal connection first before going into cold email with a contact you found on the internet or elsewhere. So if you know someone who working for that company, always ask for a warm introduction. Hey, can you put me in touch with this person who works in this department? Another point I also advise our ambassador is to follow up. Very often that on the very first email you send to the company, they will not reply. And the reason could be, yes, they are not interested, but a much more likely reason is that they are very busy and your email just got lost in their email box. Just too many emails for them to read and go through every day, right? So that's why it's really important to follow up after the initial email. So typically you can wait for 3 days to 7 days to follow up and ask again, hey, if you have read my first email, I am still very keen on working together. In fact, one of the keynote sponsorship that we secured last year, also coming from us being very persistent and keep following up, even though we didn't hear their responses in the very first few emails. So stay persistent. Last but not least, for the success tip, you should also suggest a specific time and include a calendar invite. Once again, makes the life of the people you are sending email to easy. So you can give them a few options so they can choose from there. So now I would like to hear more from our ambassador. How was her journey and how does she secure sponsorship? How does she find sponsors who were interested in our program and make it a very successful partnership last year? So with that, I would like to invite our ambassador from Bangalore. Ekta, are you here with us?
Yeah. Hi, Jasmine. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you just fine. Hey, Ekta.
Hi. Hello, everyone. So my journey with AngelHack started with being winner of Lady Problems Hackathon Delhi. After that, my team also completed Hackalator program with Addy and Tanshul being our mentors. Then for next hackathon, I decided to volunteer as I wanted to see the other side of the competition also, that what it's like to, organize and help the organizers of AngelHack in organizing this hackathon. Then after I shifted to Bangalore, knowing my history with AngelHack, Sonal recommended me to Harish for the ambassador position. So Harish got in touch with me, and after a few series of conversations, he made me ambassador for Hackathon. So for Bangalore, sorry. So this is how I became a AngelHack ambassador. So being an ambassador, one of the responsibilities is, so this is what we are doing webinar, is to bring sponsors for the event. So so I didn't have much of the experience in marketing, as I am a software developer. So with my basic instincts, so I started sending out emails to people with top positions in big companies, but no one responded, and so this all my effort was all in vain. So I thought that why not reach to startups, because they need marketing, they need people to know about their product, their services. And so I thought that the better way to raise sponsorship was to get startups on board. So I started reaching out people in my inner circle who work in startups. So this was then that my friend Paritosh, who is a product manager in Quero, and I were talking, and he told me that they were facing difficulty in hiring good coders. So I thought this is a golden opportunity, and I pitched him about AngelHack and the hack, and I pitched him about AngelHack, that we organize hackathons all over the world, and the type of people and the crowd participate in our hackathons and everything. And so I told him that I pitched him the idea of sponsoring the hackathon, from where they won't only get good coders, but also people will know about about the company and its services. So he agreed with me, as it seemed a good marketing strategy for them. And Paritosh told me that he would talk to his seniors. So meetings were set up, and so he talked to his senior, who is the regional manager of India. So Quero is actually a US based startup. So meetings were set up. Tanshul and Harish got involved, and after a few negotiations, we were able to get Quero on board as sponsors.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Ekta, for sharing. So in your experience as ambassador, what advice do you give to our fellow ambassador when it comes to finding the right sponsors?
So this was actually made clear in this webinar also, that try to go for people who are in your personal network, that who actually hold some good positions in startups, because startups are they actually want to be known. They want to be known to the people. They want their products to be seen by the people, to be used by the people. And when they know that we organize hackathons all over the world, and they will be able to get access to a variety of audiences and a lot of people. So yeah, that's my advice, that go for the inner circle, because yeah, they know you, and they might be able to connect you to better people. And just don't stop at one path. If something fails, try something different. One path is just not the only way to get sponsorship.
Right. Thank you so much for sharing, Ekta. So if any of the ambassador listening in, if you have more questions for Ekta as well as the team, please post on the Q&A box. So I think for today, for the pitch practice, I suggest that we were focusing more on the Q&A and dedicate the third webinar on sales skill and pitch practice, so you can improve your communication and pitching skill in the next workshop. Moving on to Q&A, we have questions from our ambassadors. So let's check it out. So the first question we saw here, I thought startup wouldn't have been as willing as big companies because they might have smaller budget. What type of budget? What type of startup do you recommend approaching? And where is a good platform to find startup? So for these questions, yes, there are many type of startup. You are right that there are many startups who just started out and they have very limited budget and they are quite conservative by the way they spend it to experiment with new idea or new way of marketing, like hackathon or like what we are doing. However, there are startup, for example, like the one who raised significant funding and venture capital, and they're willing to expand. They want to market the product to a new market. They want to increase the developer marketing outreach. They want to find more tech talent to join the growing team. One really good example is Grab. Grab was an unicorn in Southeast Asia. They still call themselves startup now, even though the company has grown a lot in the past years. But they are still very new in the market. And they are coming to us because they want us to help with their developer marketing outreach. So they want to brand themselves as a tech employers and want to attract more talents coming to the company. So we work together on the Singapore Hackathon, where they also sponsor a challenge that to improve this road safety in Southeast Asia. And at the end, they also promote about their recruiting program and encouraging our participants to join them. So for them, it was clearly a win-win situation where they got the funding to expand and we got the resources to make it happen. And also from our team, we note that AngelList, angel.co is a good place to find startup. You can see which are hiring or growing by looking at the job listing there in the target city as well. So this is definitely a good tool to look into. Does anyone from the AngelHack team has more things to add regarding the startup question?
I think it's good to remember that, you know, sometimes if it is a startup and it's when you want to get involved, sometimes the team could make a discount. So, you know, check in with us. Sometimes we've done that in the past. If it's a startup, we think they're going to bring a really good energy to the event. And, you know, sometimes we will make like a price that's more appropriate for them. After the city reaches its like minimum threshold, you know.
Great, thank you, Christina. Another questions we have here, is it appropriate to use some email add-on that check and confirm for me if this receiver has opened and read my cold email? What do you guys think?
I think those tools are useful. I mean, it can give you good information. I think some people that are more tech savvy will know, they'll be aware of it. They might, like, I've seen a few people that got annoyed with it before. And one time a guy coded something, so I would get an alert that he opened it every minute for like 10 hours. But like, I think that, I think usually it's just a good tool and it's helpful, and most of the time they're not aware of it. And it can give you that feedback of knowing when to maybe ping them or follow up. So in that sense, I think it's good and mostly harmless.
The next questions, I think Jonas and Christina have a lot of insight, and also Harish too, a lot of insight to share. Have you ever approach local governments?
I can jump in here first. I have worked with quite a few government entities based in Beijing, China, and the government is very involved, heavy-handed on promoting entrepreneurship and startups. Especially now, it seems also important as VC money is clearly slowing down here in China, and I think a lot of places around the world. What the governments here, what they want is always to cater to their KPI. So I would always ask them, what's your KPI? And be really direct to them about it, because only then you can get them involved. Most governments, they want more startups to be created. In China, it's a little bit special situation. It might be in some other countries as well. The governments here also really care about some foreign startups registering here, so they can sponsor hackathons, but they can also be active as mentors and provide as help for companies to start their for teams to start their companies after hackathons. For example, government here might provide space, like co-working space style, or mentorship or free registration. Christina, I think, had similar experiences in Middle East and other parts of the world. If you want to add some words here, Christina.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we've had some amazing collaborations. I mean, in the UAE, we helped run the GovTech blockchain hackathon. I think it's smart to really watch who in the government is like involved in these innovative initiatives. Like, just really pay attention to that, and that will help you kind of know who to approach. We also did for our Nigeria hackathon. It was really amazing. It was our first hackathon in the country, and we had partnered with like a group doing health innovation, and then we approached the government too. So you know, they were impressed with the idea of kind of pitching some of the problems that they have to the community, and eventually they sent like a very high level health minister to the hackathon, you know, and we had all sorts of representatives there, and it was amazing because they were, you know, they loved the idea so much they wanted to do something annually, because it's like, to them it was more efficient than their traditional methods, you know. So I think also, I mentioned this on the last webinar, Dubai, like, you know, there was a strong interest in investing in startups, and, you know, you just have to pay attention to the target city, like what, you know, how can you align with their goals, kind of, and if you find a way to, they're much more likely to respond. And a lot of times they'll have really cool initiatives that, I mean, even there was like a happiness project by the government in UAE. So we had a lot of conversations with them. They were interested. So yeah, I'd say really, you know, pay attention to what's going on. For Dubai, they ended up giving all sorts of packages to winning teams, because for them it aligns. You know, they want to see the startups grow all over the country. So yeah, good luck.
Yes, we need that in finding sponsorship, of course. So at this point, we have no more questions, but then we do have a few clarification questions that we want to ask the team so that we are all clear. So for example, a typical question we see from ambassador is that, what do we do when there are no responses at all? Jonas, what are your thoughts about these questions?
When there are no responses at all, it's often a numbers game, how many people we reach out to. So like a startup or tech mentality, I think the A/B testing is great. Let's say you message 20 people and there's no reply. I always try to change the blurb, and again, change the angle, right? Also, some things might be more suitable for you and your own personal style. So sales and BDs new to a lot of people. It can be really, really fun and rewarding to have those conversations and really learn how we can help the sponsoring partners to achieve their objectives. So what I mean with changing your own style, it can be that maybe you don't like it to send those cold emails. So a way to change that is, again, ask people for introductions, and then you are already, for example, let's say like LinkedIn, right? If you see, wow, this person is you know, CTO or, you know, developer evangelist at a company you think is a great sponsor, and you see, hey, one of your good friends from university or, you know, professor, whatever, is a connection with this person. If you ask, hey, you know, do you mind to make an introduction here? Do you know this person well? And they can do the introduction. You're already in a group chat with them, right? Again, making it a lot more likely for people to respond. Another way is what I do. I attend quite a lot of like networking events. So I walk up to people straight away. For example, we talked at AngelHack about also hosting, talking about CSR or impact hackathons. We talked about hosting hackathons that are good for the environment. And by coincidence, I ran into people at from BP, British Petroleum, like the big oil and gas company. And I knew they were a sponsor of the event organizer. So it was great. I knew already they were here. And then I saw them talking to people. I think they mentioned the company name, and I knew, oh, let's wait and talk to them, right? So once they were free, I introduced myself and what we do. And they said, wow, this sounds really cool. You know, keep me posted. We exchanged cards, and now they're in my follow-up list, and we stay in touch. Sorry, long-winded answer, but I think there are many ways to approach this.
Yeah, and I'd like to add, you know, sometimes once you've gone through the process of identifying somebody to reach out to and send them an email, maybe you know they've opened the email, maybe not. It's possible that maybe you just got the wrong person in the company. So Jazz spoke to this. Typically what I do, and I'm a big proponent on following up incessantly. After my initial email, I follow up typically around 3 days. Then I push it out a little bit longer to a week. And I still might even follow up 1 or 2 more times in addition to that. But then again, you also want to be strategic with your time. You don't want to be chasing people that either are not responding to your outreach. So then I usually pivot, and if I'm still looking at this company and I know that there's something there, I'll try to go for maybe a different individual. Yeah, so I just wanted to add that to that point, but I'll follow up many times and then either look for somebody new or then just move on.
So from all the answer, we can hear that persistence is key. Do not give up.
Yeah. And I think there was another clarification that I wanted to, the other thing I wanted to mention that I don't think we highlighted too much is, especially if you are seeing that they're opening them, we always want to stay professional and friendly. Never want to get too pushy. So even though we are being persistent, we're not saying like, hey man, I saw you opened up my email. Why aren't you responding to me? Obviously, we always lead with professionalness and friendliness. So we make sure we're representing our brand properly.
Great. Another insight from the team is that for cold outreach, even 5% can be very normal, unless you are very creative or have personal connection. So don't be disheartened. Thanks, Christina, for that advice. Another question we have, clarification question. How many follow-up should we do before closing the follow-up cycles?
I mentioned my approach. I usually do 3 days, a week after that, and then usually 1 or 2 more follow-ups, and then look for other contacts within the company or move on.
Right. Okay. Another clarification question. What else can be done when emails are not working? What are other platforms to get potential clients? Jonas, do you want to speak to that? Or? Feel free to jump in, guys.
Sorry, Jess, can you recap, please?
What else can be done when emails are not working? What are the other platforms that we can get potential clients?
So also, like, I mean, LinkedIn is really, really great, not only to get the right contact or those introductions, but LinkedIn allows you, like a Twitter, to send a really short connection request. And that already allows to basically say, hey, you know, this is what's up, and, you know, let's connect, let's chat. And then once you're connected, they see it. And also LinkedIn has the a tracking feature showing like the face symbol when people actually read your message.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. And I think like kind of other what Jonas was also saying about attending these kind of startup events, innovation events, but also, you know, in industries, you know, because a lot of, you know, if there's a convening group around health, like that would be amazing to have a health hackathon, or any of these either technologies or big industry events. I think getting involved, showing that you're passionate about these issues, it's a good way to open up the conversation. I like to do it around issues, because then it's like, oh, this is a great way to spark health innovation in the city, you know, just adding a health challenge to our hackathon, something, you know, I think it opens the door for a lot of conversations. I even like in my outreach sometimes I'll suggest like adding a challenge around X or Y, you know, if I think it aligns with that company's goals or that person. So yeah, I definitely think events, but also LinkedIn, like even posting about what hackathons are capable of, and show, you know, sparking an interest there could lead to other conversations, like posting some of the content around that.
Great. Another questions we have from our participants. Would you guys recommend having a call card when attending networking events? By call cards, are you meaning your name cards to give away? If so, I would definitely recommend that. As we're attending networking event, it's just so much handier to help other people remember us. And AngelHack, if you have your name card printed. The other IM, do you have any thoughts or perspective about that?
Yeah, I think everyone has a different idea. Like some of the angel hackers, when I first started, were like, "Oh, that's so old school to have cards," but I like it. I think people remember it. I like to make a beautiful business card that's like slick, that to me, especially as the world is more digital, these things stand out a little bit. So I personally love it. I think, you know, especially I only give it when I have a meaningful potential or conversation with someone. But I definitely think it just helps connect or remember you, even if they don't immediately add you on LinkedIn or whatever. Yeah, so I'm all for it.
That's great. So that is a wrap for our second webinar. Thank you guys so much for staying until the end and moving forward to the next one. The last webinar of our series focusing on selling sponsorship will be about sales skill from the first meeting to closing a deal. It will be happening the same time next week on Thursday. So once again, thank you for your time and your energy to be here with us. So see you soon in the next webinar.